The Atlanta Braves avoided further embarrassment by getting a huge win on Sunday Night Baseball over the Los Angeles Dodgers. Bryce continues to pitch well, but the offense has to do more against some of the better teams in baseball and the better pitching staffs. We'll discuss all that on today's episode of Locked On Braves. So let's get into it.
You are Locked On Braves, your daily Atlanta Braves podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome back to Locked On Braves, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, where we cover your favorite Atlanta sports teams each and every day. I'm your host, Jake Mastroianni. You can follow me on social media at shortstopball. Check out the podcast there at LockedOn_Braves on X and Locked On Braves on Instagram. If you're new and you're watching this on YouTube, please do me a huge favor. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit the thumbs up button and leave me a comment down below. It does help out the show a ton whenever you do those things. And if you're listening on the audio version, you can help out by leaving me a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. And thank you so much for making Locked On Braves your first listen of each and every day, especially kicking off this week with me after the Braves get a big win on Sunday Night Baseball. We're going to talk about this Dodgers series, break down the offense and the pitching staff, where Grant Holmes and Bryce were brilliant. Spencer Schwellenbach continued to get hit hard, and the offense just wasn't able to do enough against really good pitching. But those are the types of games where you're going to have to win if you want to ultimately reach your goals. So we'll get into all of that on today's episode, which is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. The Atlanta Braves do drop the series to the Los Angeles Dodgers, but they salvage it with a win on Sunday Night Baseball 4-3, a nail-biter at the very end. The Braves had to hold on, but they did, and it's a good job by that bullpen to hold on to a 4-2 lead once they took over. They did give up one run on a solo shot by Miguel Rojas off of Dylan Lee, but Raisel Iglesias, Daysbel Hernandez, Pierce Johnson, really good work out of the bullpen to hold on to that lead and salvage a game in that series, which, look, I know it's one win out of 6 tries against the Los Angeles Dodgers, but it's much better than going 0-6 against them. And the type of game that you had to do to get the job done. And you look at these 6 games overall against the Dodgers, they were all fairly competitive. Saturdays notwithstanding, but even the 3 back in LA, there's maybe one game there that kind of got away from the Braves. I think it was a 6-1 game in there, but the others were really close and competitive. So for the most part, and again, you can't take moral victories out of this, but for the most part, I feel like the Braves have been really competitive with the Dodgers. They just haven't been able to come up in those close games. So that's why I think Sunday nights was so big, because it was a close game. It was a tight game, and you still found a way to win against the Dodgers. So hopefully that gives them some confidence going forward against them should they face the Dodgers at some point. And look, it's so early in the season that by the time that the Braves do face the Dodgers again in the postseason, could be completely different teams at that point. That's just baseball. It's 162 plus games, and we are in the second month, the very early stages of the second month of the season. These could be in good ways. The Dodgers could be even better, which is scary to think about. The Braves could also be very much better by the time we get to that point. But I just think in the early season, looking at these matchups, I know it's a 1-5 record against the Dodgers, but that Friday game is a coin flip, could have gone either way. A couple of those games in LA were coin flips that could have gone either way. But the Braves, just in this early portion, at least against good teams, for the most part, haven't been able to get things to go their way. But on Sunday night, they did. So I thought that was a key win for them, just confidence-wise going forward. I want to focus on the offense in the first segment, and then we'll get to the pitching in the second segment, and then we'll set up the Reds series in the third segment today. Up and down series offense. It's hard for me to judge this offensive performance for the weekend. I think overall you have to say it was lackluster. They scored just 8 runs and no more than 4 runs in any one game. The competition was certainly tougher, but as I talked about in the beginning, you want to get to your ultimate goal. You have to beat teams like this. You have to beat pitching staffs like this. You have to find ways to do more. They did manage 18 hits in the final 2 games after just getting 2 hits on Friday night against Yamamoto, who just won pitcher of the month. As I said, coming into the series, he's been the best pitcher so far in all of baseball, and he looked that part on Friday night. But in the last two games, they at least racked up the hits, and it looked more like the offense we've seen lately, but it kind of reverted back to not being able to get that big hit. They go 1 for 10 with runners in scoring position on Saturday, 0 for 5 with runners in scoring position on Sunday. So plenty of base runners getting on base, weren't striking out quite as much. I think they had 10 strikeouts on Saturday, which is not great. And I think 3 of those came in like the final 2 innings. They were doing pretty good there until those final 2 innings on Saturday. Just 7 walks on Sunday. So the last 2 games of the series, bats looked a little bit more like they have lately. And then Friday, like I said, against Yamamoto, maybe the best pitcher in baseball right now. But that ability to get that big hit did kind of resurface itself, or that ability where they've had it lately or the season to not get that big hit kind of resurfaced in the final 2 games. And like I said, I get the competition is better. Their pitching staff for the Dodgers is very good. Look, their 8th guy in the bullpen is probably one of the best arms in many bullpens. And their 8th starting pitcher is probably better than most people's 2nd and 3rd starting pitcher. It is a very good pitching staff, the arms that they can run out. I mean, they have a lot of injuries in their pitching staff right now too. You just don't notice it because the guys they have behind them are also really, really good. So I understand that, and you have to take that into context, but you got to do a better job of trying to manufacture something in those types of games. And we've seen them do it against lesser teams. We've seen them be able to manufacture runs. We've seen them be able to cut down on the strikeouts and put the ball in play a little bit more. But you have to be able to do that against good pitching too, which I get it. It's tougher pitching for a reason, and it's going to make it harder to do those things. But if you're going to have success against the top pitching staffs, against the top teams, if you get to the postseason against those types of pitching staffs, those are the little things you have to be able to do. And, Yamamoto on Friday, really good. I mean, Braves didn't have a hit for 4 innings, I believe. Only had 2 hits overall in the game. He was great. But you got to find a way to stress him, whether that's Eli White laying down a bunt, Michael Harris laying down a bunt, and somebody with some speed getting on base, putting pressure on him, something. You're facing a pitcher like that. Runs are going to be tough. You got to find some way to get your speed on base to put some pressure on that pitcher. And it just felt like they did get him out through 6 innings. I think it was 91 pitches in that. So they were able to, I guess at the very least, get him out after 6 innings, but it just never felt like there was much stress on Yamamoto. And through 6 innings, you got to find an inning or 2 where you're really putting stress on that starting pitcher. And it just never felt like that was the case. They did a better job against Sasaki. Like I said, got better as the weekend went on, but also the pitching, I hate to say got worse, but when you go from Yamamoto to Sasaki to Dustin May, it's a big drop off right now. But they had a chance to knock Sasaki out early, and they weren't able to do it. Allowed them to get through 5 innings. You do get 1 base runner in that 5th inning, and Sasaki probably comes out of the game, and they couldn't do that. It didn't matter with all the runs that the Dodgers got, but would have gave them a chance to get into the bullpen a little bit earlier. They had plenty of chances early against Dustin May, but they couldn't finish him off, and it gave the Dodgers offense a chance to get back in that game. And I really thought it was going to come back to cost the Braves because they didn't take advantage of those early chances against Dustin May, but fortunately they were able to hold on. So like I said, kind of a mixed bag for me on the weekend for the Braves. I did see some good at-bats in there. Marcell Ozuna's at-bats against Yamamoto were some of the best at-bats he's had all season. He drew 2 walks against him, so that's great. So there were some good at-bats overall in the series, just not enough done in those clutch spots with runners in scoring position, not enough done early on to either put pressure on Yamamoto, to stress him, or to put a pitcher away like a Sasaki or Dustin May. They weren't able to do that. So overall, a bad weekend for the offense. I think you have to say that. But there were still some good things I saw within there. Speaking of good things, Austin Riley had the 2 home runs on Sunday Night Baseball. Maybe he's heating back up. He had 5 hits on the weekend, had 4 strikeouts in the first 2 games done on Sundays. So again, hopefully he's starting to trend back in the right direction. And that would be great because, with Austin Riley, he's going to have those dips, those cold stretches here and there, but it's not letting those cold stretches linger for week plus at a time. And so if he can cut it off at 3-4 games and get back on track to the all-star level hitter that he is, that would be great. The heart of the lineup, I thought, did pretty good. I mean, Riley had the 2 home runs and 5 hits on the weekend. Ozuna reached base 6 times. Olsen only reached base 4 times, but you watch the game, especially on Sunday, he just continues to have awful luck, but he's still, drawing his walks, getting on base. Verdugo only reached base 3 times on the weekend. Fortunately, 2 of those times were before Austin Riley hit a home run on Sunday night. So still would like to see a little bit more from him at the top of the order. I mean, he's been great. I'm certainly not complaining there, but would have liked to see a little bit more from him. Only 1 hit from your catchers, and Murphy and Baldwin seem to be cooled off. You wonder, Baldwin not playing, getting 2 starts a week, not getting any pinch hit opportunities, how that's affecting him being able to stay fresh. Can the Braves continue to go like that with Drake Baldwin only getting, 2 starts a week? We'll see how long they're able to go with that. And then the guys at the bottom of the lineup that have been so productive for the Atlanta Braves and kind of turning their offense around, they had a bit of a rough weekend, which, again, you would kind of expect that against better pitching. But Michael Harris, Eli White, Nick Allen combined for just 5 hits on the weekend, only 1 run scored and 10 strikeouts. So those have been your 3 guys at the bottom that have been able to get on base, put that stress on the opposing pitcher, and help the Atlanta Braves manufacture runs, and they just weren't able to do that over the weekend against good pitching. Now, Eli White still had a pretty good weekend overall. Sunday was rough for him. He had 3 strikeouts before he did get a single later in the game in the bottom of the 8th inning, but then got picked off and caught stealing. There was a 2-strike count, 1-2 count on Drake Baldwin, so don't necessarily mind it there, but it seemed pretty obvious that he was going to be going and he got picked off. But the bottom of the order just weren't able to do the things that we've seen them do recently to kind of help this offense take off. So, like I said, bit of a lackluster performance overall for the offense this past weekend. Next, we'll take a look at the pitching staff, where Grant Holmes and Bryce Elder looks really good, but are we concerned about Spencer Schwellenbach? We'll discuss that here next. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? I have a family of 5, mouths to feed. I wonder that all the time. Where does all the money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track of your expenses. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop managing your money and start building wealth. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off of your first year. Thank you, as always, for making Locked On Braves your first listen of each and every day. Go check out Locked On MLB for your second listen of the day. Solely getting you caught up with everything happening around Major League Baseball. They got the MLB Game Night podcast over there that my good friend Lindsey Crosby is a part of, and they give you the best highlights from each and every day around Major League Baseball. So make sure you go give them your second listen of the day. Now, the Atlanta Braves starting pitching over the weekend. 2 stellar performances, I think you can say, from Grant Holmes and Bryce Elder, but Spencer Schwellenbach continues to get hit really, really hard. Let's start with the Friday night game, though, with Grant Holmes. 6 innings, 4 hits, 2 walks, 2 earned, 9 strikeouts, did allow 1 home run. Best start of the year. And he's had some good ones here lately, but just considering the opponent and considering the dominant type performance, 15 whiffs against that Dodgers team is really impressive. What I hope this does more than anything for Grant Holmes is that it gives him the confidence in knowing that if he can do it against this Dodgers lineup, his stuff is good enough to get through any lineup. He's been walking way too many batters lately. He walked 2 in this one, but being able to trust his stuff and know that that breaking pitch is such a good pitch that he can land it in the zone and still get, weak contact. Certainly 2 strikes, you want to expand and get that out of the zone. But if he can get ahead with hitters, that breaking pitch is so good and so effective. And you saw it in this start against this Dodgers team. 15 whiffs, 9 strikeouts is a pretty incredible performance from Grant Holmes, who now has strung some good performances together outside of a bad 4th inning in Arizona, where command just did elude him for a minute. He's been the Braves' best pitcher over the last 3 to 4 weeks. So it's good to see Grant Holmes kind of turning a corner as a starter, hopefully gaining some confidence. And certainly after this start, you have to imagine his confidence is at an all-time high. As for Spencer Schwellenbach on Saturday, this was the game we looked at that said Sasaki, he's kind of been struggling a little bit. Maybe the Braves offense could get to him. And Schwellenbach, you want to see him, get on track. You know what he can be. You know what his potential is. And he just, quite frankly, laid an egg. I mean, it was awful performance. 3 2/3 innings, 8 hits, 1 walk, 6 earned runs, 4 strikeouts, 1 home run allowed on 91 pitches. And it is now 4 straight rough starts, you can say, for Spencer Schwellenbach, where he's been hit really hard, although 2 of those starts were still quality starts, which I think says a lot about what the expectations for Spencer Schwellenbach, and that even when he's getting hit hard, maybe the stuff doesn't look quite as good, he's still able, usually, Saturday notwithstanding, to give you innings and give you quality starts. But he has gotten hit pretty hard in 4 straight starts now. Our team's finally starting to adjust to him. Is this just a bad stretch? Is he throwing too many strikes? Like we talked about after his last start. That was his problem when he first came up last year, is that he was throwing too many strikes, and teams, were aware of that. And so they were aggressive early in the zone. Is that the case for him now? Watching the game on Saturday, and I don't want to make excuses for him because all pitchers had to deal with this, but you had the long rain delay, and he knew about it and was prepared for it. He didn't, get up for the regular or the originally posted start time. They knew ahead of time that it was going to be delayed, but still, it's a pretty lengthy delay for a starter. And just watching him, it felt like it kind of came and went with the control of his pitches. You saw him looking down at the mound several times, like his landing spot just wasn't right. He just seemed frustrated. And more than ever, you saw him spike some pitches, miss badly with some pitches here or there. And it felt like he was a little bit off, and it seemed to come and go. And it looked like the only thing that he really had a good feel for was the 4-seamer on Saturday. And he throws 6 pitches, and it felt like the only thing that he felt comfortable with was the fastball, and that nothing else was really working for him on Saturday. And it's going to be hard to compete against a Dodgers lineup when all you really have going for you is your fastball. And it's a good fastball. And you saw him, he got 14 whiffs in the game, and several of them were on that fastball, 13 called strikes as well. So again, even in this start, you saw some good things for Spencer Schwellenbach. I am not worried, to answer my own question. I am not worried about Spencer Schwellenbach. I think he's good enough. He's young enough. He's smart enough. He's going to figure this out, but it is now 4 straight starts where he has gotten hit extremely hard, and he's got to figure it out because the Braves need him. They need him to be that top of the rotation guy and give them that length and consistently give them 6-7 innings of 2 earned or less, and need to see him get back to being that type of starter for the Atlanta Braves. Is Bryce Elder getting back to an all-star level? Let's pump the brakes on that just a little bit. But 5 innings, 4 hits, 2 walks, 2 earned, 6 strikeouts on 86 pitches against the Dodgers on Sunday Night Baseball. We are getting what I think is the best version of Bryce Elder right now, and a guy that when he's locating that sinker and that slider on the edges, the sinker down and into righties, the slider down and away to righties, and he's able to locate the 4-seam at the top of the zone to change that eye level, as I've been talking about for a while now with Bryce Elder. When he can do those things, he can be an effective pitcher. And I think we're seeing him be able to do that here lately and locating those pitches much better. And when he does that, he's a guy that can give you 5-6 innings of 2-3 earned or less, like we've seen lately. Probably still not a guy that should be facing a lineup for a third time, especially not a lineup like the Dodgers. That said, I was perfectly fine with the decision on Sunday night to send him back out there for that 6th inning to face Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman. Just the situation of the game is a 4-1 game, so you had a little bit of a cushion to play with. He had been throwing the ball well, and you had to use a lot of your bullpen the night before because Schwellenbach only went 4+ innings in that one. Not even that. He went 3 2/3 innings on Saturday. So you had to use a lot of your bullpen. So I was fine with sending him back out there in the 6th inning on Sunday. Unfortunately, it went walk, single, and then I thought that was the appropriate time. That's when you pull him, and great job by Pierce Johnson to get out of that. Had this been a playoff game, I don't think you let him face. You probably don't even let him face Shohei Ohtani again in the 5th inning. You probably pull him after 4 2/3, probably what you should do. But certainly in a playoff situation, would not have sent him back out there. But for where we are in the regular season and just the circumstances around this game and the previous game, I thought it was the right call. That's 3 straight good starts for Bryce Elder now at a time when the Braves desperately needed somebody to step up in the rotation. Bryce Elder is doing that. So very big starts here from Bryce Elder. Hopefully that can continue. As for the bullpen on the weekend, they were nearly perfect on Friday, and they gave the Braves offense a chance to come back in that game. That was Lee, Daysbell, and Montero, who needed a good outing. They looked really good on Friday night. The game was pretty much out of hand on Saturday. Scott Blewett had a rough performance, and he just can't afford many rough performances because he's probably the last man. He and Montero are probably on the chopping block for Kimbrel or whoever else might be ready to come up in the bullpen. But in the game on Saturday, I thought De Los Santos looked the best that he had. It was a lower leverage situation, but he was consistently landing that slider just off the plate, down and away to righties. And when he does that, because it's got great movement on it, he's a devastating pitcher. I mean, he has that type of potential. And I thought it was the best that De Los Santos has looked in quite some time. So that was a good performance from him. And then on Sunday, in order to hold on to that tight lead that the Braves had, and you saw Snitker go to what I think are the 4 top arms in the Braves bullpen right now. Pierce Johnson, who seems to be back in that trust tree with Brian Snitker. He's able to come in and get out of that jam in the 6th inning. And then, like Snitker has done a lot this year, he stretches them, gets another out up from him in the 7th inning as well. And then he goes to Dylan Lee, who gives up the home run, but is able to get through that. Then you see Daysbell come in to finish off that inning and give you the 8th inning as well. And looked really good. Still not getting those strikeouts, but he's getting out. So that's all that really matters. And then Iglesias in the 9th inning gives up the leadoff single, a long at bat to Andy Pages, who kind of gets jammed, but pushes one the other way. Ozzie knocks it down, but can't keep it in his glove. So the runner reaches. They pinch hit with Ha-Seong Kim, who's able to get to third with 1 out, but Iglesias strikes out the next 3 batters, and just some big pitches from him. Look, it was the bottom of the lineup. I get that, but some big pitches, some big outs there from Raisel Iglesias to hold on to that save. I thought the best at bat in that one was the one to Miguel Rojas, who had hit the home run earlier off of Dylan Lee, but he threw 3 really good changeups that just dropped off the table, down and in, which is where you want, maybe even a little bit down. Some of those pitches in the inning were still up, so that still leaves some concern for me with Raisel Iglesias, but at least in that Rojas at bat, the changeups were down and in and under the bat of Miguel Rojas. So that was a big strikeout there with 1 out and a runner on third. So great stuff by Raisel Iglesias. Great stuff by the bullpen, who again continues to impress me. I think they've been really good this year, and really the only bad pitching performance of the weekend was Spencer Schwellenbach. And Scott Blewett, if you want to throw that in as well in a garbage time outing on Saturday. Outside of that, I thought the pitching was really good on the weekend, and the offense had some moments and they had some chances to do more. But overall, you get this, it's a series loss to the Dodgers once again. Got to be able to play better and find ways to win those types of series against good teams. They're going to be playing another good team next in the Cincinnati Reds, although they are coming off a series loss to the Nationals. We'll discuss all of that here next. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more, experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. If you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who delivered incredible results. Posting a job is free and simple, and within a day, you'll have multiple qualified candidates to choose from. Instead of hiring full-time, Upwork helps find affordable, top-tier freelancers to scale your business more efficiently. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's UPWORK.com, Upwork.com, to connect with top talent and grow your business today. Before we get into the Reds series preview, there was a little bit of news. Braves made a surprise major league signing over the weekend and left-handed pitcher Austin Cox, who the Royals let go of. It's a major league deal, but he has options left, so the Braves were able to option him to Gwinnett. 6'4" left-handed pitcher this year at AAA, a 3.55 ERA, 12 2/3 innings, 11 hits, 6 walks, and 18 strikeouts. The four-seamer averages just around 91 miles per hour. So not a lot of velocity there. Cutter, curveball off of that. I think it's just adding more left-handed depth to your pitching staff. I don't know how much of a factor Austin Cox is going to be, but certainly, always will take some more left-handed options in your system. Now, the Atlanta Braves will be facing the Cincinnati Reds, who come to town for a 4-game series. The Reds just lost a series at home to the Nats, so they'll be looking to bounce back from that. They're 18-17 on the year, so off to a pretty good start. And their offense has been really good. Their starting pitching has been really good. Their offense is 11th in batting average, 6th in runs scored, 14th in home runs, 12th in on-base percentage, the 8th most walks. They do have the 25th most strikeouts, but the 6th most stolen bases. So they can do a little bit everything. Certainly a top 10 to top 15-ish offense so far this season. The bullpen for the Cincinnati Reds, Emilio Pagan has taken over that closer role with Alexis Diaz. Not doing well, and I think he had an injury in there as well. 15 and a third innings, 2.35 ERA for Pagan, 0.52 whip, only 3 walks to 17 strikeouts and 8 saves. Scott Barlow, one of their high leverage relievers, 3.21 ERA, 1.36 whip, 14 innings to 12 strikeouts. Tony Santillan, 1.69 ERA, 0.94 whip, 12 strikeouts in 16 innings, 4 walks, 1 save. And then Graham Ashcraft, he had a rough game on Sunday, ended up taking the loss in that game, but he's become a weapon. It's a guy that I've always loved the stuff of Graham Ashcraft. Just could not figure it out as a starter, but he's done good things as a reliever, which, hello, Atlanta Braves. You got several pitchers like that in your organization who I love their stuff. I think they could be great potentially as starters, but at some point, you got to flip that switch and see if they can figure it out as relievers, because Ashcraft's become a really big weapon for the Reds out of the bullpen, give you 2-3 innings at a time. And again, he's always had great stuff. You look at the pitching matchups for this series. Brady Singer with a 3.24 ERA versus AJ Smith-Shawver, coming off that great start that he had in Colorado, but also got hit in the elbow pretty hard. We'll see how that affects him. Hopefully he's able to throw strikes like he was in Colorado. 4.26 ERA on the year for AJ Smith-Shawver. Andrew Abbott and his 2.84 ERA faced Chris Sale and his 4.84 ERA. Hope Sale, who had a great start in Colorado, that continues against this Reds offense at home. So that should be another good pitching matchup. And then Hunter Green, one of the better pitchers so far this season. He seems to finally be hitting that ceiling that he's always had as the former top pick. 2.53 ERA this year. He'll face Grant Holmes, who, like I said, has been maybe the Braves' best starter over the last 3 to 4 weeks. So that should be another great pitching matchup. And then in the finale, it's Nick Lodolo and his 3.27 ERA going up against Spencer Schwellenbach and his 3.92 ERA. Again, another great pitching matchup. Can Schwellenbach get back on track against this Reds offense that can be pretty aggressive? They strike out a lot, but they can also be really aggressive and have a lot of speed on the base paths. So that's what to watch for this week. That Reds starting rotation is finally taking shape. They made the trade, Jonathan India for Brady Singer, and Singer has been good for them kind of as a rotation stabilizer. And then you have the upside of a Hunter Green and a Nick Lodolo, and Andrew Abbott, who I think is a solid middle rotation stabilizer as well. And this starting rotation for the Reds is really starting to take shape and help out that young offense with Ellie De La Cruz. McLean hasn't really gotten going yet this year, but certainly has the potential. So I like what the Reds are doing over there. I don't know if they'll be able to contend with the Cubs in that division. And there's just some really good teams in the East and the West that it's going to be hard for them to really compete for wild card spot either. Unfortunate news for them. Austin Hayes, who's been a great player for them so far this season, he is injured, so that's going to be a big loss for them. Noelvi Marte has been hot here as of late, so he's another player to watch in this series. But outside of that, there's not really anybody else on the roster that really scares me. Obviously, De La Cruz, very good player, great talent, fun to watch. But outside of him, and like I said, Hayes being injured is a big loss. Marte's been good here lately. Those are some of the names to watch offensively for the Cincinnati Reds. Spencer Steers, been good, 812 OPS over the last 2 weeks. Gavin Lux, a 781 OPS over the last 2 weeks. So those will be some of the hitters to watch in this series from the Cincinnati Reds. 4-game series against a good team. Would love to see the Braves get back on track and win this one. Great pitching matchups. Going to be another tough test for this Braves offense. Can they get going once again and have better, consistent at-bats throughout? Can't wait to see it. Should be a fun series to watch. We'll have it covered for you over on the postcast this week, me and Lindsay. So should be a fun week of Atlanta Braves baseball. Make sure you subscribe here to Locked On Braves. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube if you haven't already. Make sure you follow us on social media at shortstopball, at LockedOn_Braves on X, and Locked On Braves on Instagram. And make sure that you rate, review, and subscribe to the Locked On Braves podcast wherever you get your podcast. And we will talk to you next time.